Hi everyone, here's another question from the monthly questions thread. This one's from Jarrid. Fresh writer here, just under a year in building my writing skills. I'm working on my first novel, or rather novels. I'm really bad at the shiny object chasing thing. I finally settled into a certain book idea after killing probably a total of 15,000+ words of writing across multiple ideas, one of which was this project. I scavenged the intro chapter at least. The best part of this journey is coming to old ideas with fresh eyes so far. Any tips on how to contain that feeling of wanting to chase this new cool book idea that you get randomly? As of now, I just throw the gist of the idea in Apple Notes and try and leave it alone for later. I think we've all been here a time or two. Great question, Jarrid, thanks. Yeah, this definitely happens to me. I can go a while without any good ideas, but as soon as I'm working on something, another one comes along. I think being in a consistent creative pattern, like when we're writing a novel, means that your brain naturally serves up more ideas than maybe it normally would. That can be a blessing and a curse, for sure. However, I don't think that's just all it is, necessarily. Often, when we grind to a halt when writing something or we jump between projects, it's not because another idea is actually better or even more interesting. It can be a sign that we've got something going on in the background with our current story. How often, for example, have you been really loving what you're writing, happy with how it's going, feeling productive and excited about it, only for another idea to then take you off course? I can only speak for myself, of course, but that doesn't happen too much, I find. What does happen is that I get so far into a story, some of the magic maybe wears off a little, starts to become harder work than it was before. Then maybe I slow down a bit, get frustrated with it. That's when the temptations and the new ideas come in. However, it's no good just saying, ignore all that and power through, because we're dealing with our creative mind here. The process isn't always straightforward. It's not a perfect machine. It's not something we can fully understand the workings of even. We need breaks and we need random inspiration to keep going. So sometimes I think we should actually follow those shiny new stuff whims, but in a controlled way that prioritizes finishing stories. That way, it's kind of a best of both worlds. You've got the right idea with your approach of making notes on the new ideas that come to you, but I'd actually suggest you go a bit further. If a new idea is interrupting you, if it really is shiny and interesting, then there may very well be value to it. It might actually be a really good idea, not just seeming like it in comparison to part of your ongoing story that's maybe a bit more frustrating to write. Capture those notes, absolutely. Write down everything you can about the story, but I'd then say write some of it as well. I don't know about you, but the notes I make for story ideas never age well. The notes alone, no matter how detailed I make them, can't ever capture the essence of the idea quite right. If I leave it too long and then I come back to the notes, I don't really get an idea of what the heart of the story was. So what I do in this situation is I write a little bit, enough to capture the voice and my general approach to this new story, just something short, 1,000 words, something like that. Having that kind of preserves the idea, I think. It makes it more than just notes alone. Then I leave it at a point where I'm still excited to continue with it, at a point where I'd really prefer to keep writing it. That makes it easier to come back to when the time comes. The reason I do that is that first it helps preserve that idea, obviously, so that I don't lose it. But it also makes it feel like I've acknowledged and addressed that idea properly. I've dealt with it, processed it, recorded it. I think doing that can actually help clear my mind a little more, which enables me to go back to my ongoing story and continue it. Only now I have the incentive to push through that difficult bit, because I know when I'm finished with this story, I have something I can move on to that'll be fun to write, instead of suddenly finding myself with nothing at all to write, which is never fun. The thing is, that shiny new idea, once you get 20,000 words into it, might get tough again, and a new idea might occur to you, and it's a cycle that recurs, I find. But there's something interesting about that. To me, it means that it's not actually the project that's the issue. It doesn't mean your story's weak, and that's why you're tempted by new ideas. It just means this is a part of the creative process and being creative, and we just need to account for it. So, as much as it might seem counterproductive, I'd say when those shiny ideas come, give them some space, deal with them properly, and you might find it's easier to go back to what you were working on before. You're spot on in prioritising finishing the original story though. There's nothing more important to the development of our writing than finishing stuff, in my opinion. In fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be releasing a video on YouTube all about how to finish your stories, so stay tuned for that one. Hopefully this helped. Thank you so much for your question and for your support.